How's it going, everyone? My name is True Wonder Dog, and today we're having a look at Jack's third variation while also talking about the changes he got in the recent update. So without any further ado, let's get started. So first up we have Outranked. This move starts up in 13 frames instead of 12, so it is 1 frame slower. A very minor nerf, but a nerf nonetheless. Perhaps some developers think Jax is a bit too quick in some regards, but he still has moves that are faster than that, and it is a high attack. I think they slowed it down because he now has this godlike mix-up going on, and they want to make it a bit more balanced because this string is really good. We'll get to it in a little bit, but this mix-up is a little bit crazy, especially in this variation. And then we have Advanced Force. That's the first 4 buttons, so 2, 2, 1, 1. This move now has 1 more active frame, recovers 1 frame slower, and can be cancelled into special moves, and that's the main change. This 4th hit can now be cancelled, and that's very nice. You can also cancel the 5th hit, I do believe. Though keep in mind, those last 2 are dial-in, so if you don't do all 6, you won't get that 5th hit, but you can cancel the 5th hit as well, but also the 4th hit if you want to cancel a little bit sooner. And that can be a big deal for his mix-ups, because he has overheads and lows in this string, so it ends with an overhead. And that's scary, right? But he also has this low, so you can replace that last hit with a low for a mix-up, or do it even earlier now, and they won't expect that, and that's why it's so scary now. You can do 4 hits and then cancel that, and the opponent's just not expecting it. So now you can cancel the 4th and the 5th hit, which makes them very scary during combos or even on block for those juicy mix-ups. And then we have Right to Bear Arms, specifically the 5th hit, so that would be the second to last hit in this string. This can now be special cancelled as well, like I mentioned a bit earlier, but it's a bit slower now. It's 21 frames instead of 16, but it can be special cancelled, so it's still a bit of a net win in my opinion. It's a bit slower now, but that hit in particular was never the mix-up, it was just a mid, so it's nice now that it's a little bit slower and can also be special cancelled. I think it evens out, I think it works out. And then we have the final hit of this string, so that very last punch that ends in an overhead, so this one got a lot of changes. So its startup is now 2 frames slower, it has 5 less blocks done, 1 more recovery frame on hit, and its recovery on miss and block has been increased by 6 frames. So overall, the final hit is just a little bit weaker, it's easier to react to and easier to punish, it's not as good on block, so let's have Aaron Black block this. Ooh, it's not set to auto, let me go ahead and change that real quick. I typically do have it set to auto, but let's see. So that final hit is fully punishable, minus 11, that's not good. You will live and die by this mix-up. What is this thing? Minus 7, so the low is actually safer, which is kind of crazy because it does start combos, but at the same time there is a gap there. So if the opponent's fast, they could interrupt you, but I still think it's going to be a nightmare, especially online. But just keep in mind that final hit is a lot riskier now. It's slower, it's more punishable, all that bad stuff. And then we have Armed and Dangerous, so this string is actually brand new after the update, and it's a bit tricky to do. You want to actually cancel before that last hit, so don't dial in those final 3 hits, instead wait for the first of the last 3 hits to come out and then press that final button. So if you watch my inputs, you can dial the whole thing in, but then as that second to last hit lands, then you want to press 1 to get that ender. And this is a high attack, which means the opponent could duck under it, but it's similar to this move right here, where if you don't duck it, it's very, very plus on block. So this string is just crazy advantage. Look at that, plus 9. You can do whatever you want, and the opponent has to deal with it. It's so plus on block. And now it's the same thing for this situation, so dial in the whole thing, but then cancel that last hit, and you are now plus 4 on block. Now the spacing isn't the best, but you do have ways to catch them, moves like this, or that if you dash cancel. You're still at plus 4, and in the corner it becomes even scarier. So if the opponent doesn't duck because they're scared of that overhead, you now have a really good frame advantage, plus 4, and especially in the corner, that's very terrifying. So that's one of the biggest mix-ups with Jackson Variation 3. Are you going to block low and get snagged by the overhead? That's a knockdown and crazy advantage on hit. So you may stand up and try to block that, but now instead, you get the high attack and I'm plus anyway. So it's a very risky situation, and honestly if you stand up either way, he could always do that and get the low, and that is a meterless combo starter, and you do not want that either. So he's honestly a mix-up monster in this variation. Even if he doesn't get the hit, he gets pressure, and that's very awesome. And next up we have Lethal Clap. So this move starts up in 14 frames instead of 15, and recovers 5 frames faster, so it's an all-around better move. It's faster on startup, and you recover sooner as well. You're plus 14 on hit with this thing. That is crazy. You can just dash in and go for stuff. I wonder if it's possible to throw too soon. No, it's not. You're not so plus that you can't throw immediately. That's nice. That's going to be scary against people, man. You land this hit, dash in, get the throw. Look at all that damage. Oh my gosh, you're already a 4th dead. That's just terrifying. All it was one string, and that could easily be a punish, right? It starts up pretty quickly. That could be an easy punish after something unsafe. You get that going, get the clap, crazy frame advantage, go for the throw. Oh, even better, go for this, because they're not very far away after landing this. So just deal with this. Just deal with it. It's coming, man. That's terrifying. That's some scary stuff, man. It's very good on hit now. That is just awesome. And that's not even the craziest part about this move. So if you're heated up enough, it has a different reaction when you're all the way heated up. And this does not cost bar to amplify it. I have no meter and I could still amplify, and yes, that is a combo starter. Now, I'm not a Jax player, so I'm not exactly sure what I can get off of that. Yep, that definitely works. So from mid-screen, I'm still getting you for some pretty decent damage, and that was just doing it raw. I could combo into that and still get the same ender, so that's pretty scary. Once again, not a Jack main, but let me try this out. Oh my goodness, 220, no meter, no effort. That wasn't very tough at all. And in the corner, it's gonna get crazy, I can guarantee you. You're gonna do down 1-2, down 1-2, and then an ender, clap him again maybe, all that crazy stuff. It's just gonna be a nightmare. It's gonna be very good. This honestly gets me the most hype. The fact that you can extend combos without spending any meter is great, because normally Jax doesn't really have combos, he just has mix-ups and pressure. Now he has everything. He has pressure, he has mix-ups, and he has meterless combos. I just love this variation. I can't wait to see it at tournaments. And next up, we sadly have a fairly big nerf, but I think it's fair, all things considered, so I'm gonna tell Aaron Black to duck, and then if I put myself at very low health, I can now no longer snag him with my fatal blow. It's now a high attack, which I think is fair. It looks like a high attack, and honestly, it's so darn fast. I honestly don't like how fatal blows work in this game in general. I miss the screen freeze that many other fighting games have. You get snagged by these things as it is, and Jax's was just ridiculous. It's already a fantastic anti-air, and it's still very great at whiff punishing. So the fact that you can duck it seems fair to me. It's still a fantastic fatal blow, it just feels a bit more balanced now. And then we have the quad grab, so now it's a bit tougher to get that crushing blow. So it's 2 frames stricter now on every follow-up, and for me personally, it's a bit trickier to get now. Before, one of the best ways to get it, I told my buddy just wait for the hit to appear on screen, and then press the button. So 3 hits, press it. 4 hits, press it. That's what I used to do, but now I'm not getting it anymore, so it does actually seem stricter. You may have to actually train that muscle memory now. Like, I'm delaying it a bit, and I'm still not getting it. Wow! This is actually going to be tough to get now. It's going to require some pretty crazy timing. To me, I don't know. This seems like one of those changes that wasn't necessary because it already cost 2 bars. So to make it tougher to get just seems a bit ridiculous to me. You already have a ton of crushing blows that, I don't like to use this word, but they're brain dead. It's just get a counter hit. That's pretty much all it is. And you get 35% damage or 30% damage for some characters, and it doesn't cost you any bar. But then you have this one that actually requires skill, and it made it even tougher. I don't think I quite agree with this decision. If people were complaining about this move, I don't see why it costs 2 bars. I get that it's unbreakable. I understand that, but at the same time, it's only once a match, and the damage isn't even that insane unless you combo into it, and once again, 2 bars and already took timing, and now it's even tougher to get, so just be warned, Jax mains, it's now a bit tougher to get this crushing blow, so in a bad connection, you're gonna have a bit of a tougher time. So just pray that ping isn't too high, because if so, it's gonna be almost impossible to get this one now. But thankfully, the last change is a buff, and a pretty considerable one if you ask me, so Ground Shatter and Ground Pound will no longer interact with projectile parries or projectile counters. So hold that down, Nightwolf, and I'm gonna go ahead and counter you. It no longer works, and it used to, and that's kind of crazy, right? Because before, Nightwolf could actually reflect nearly anything. Even things that shouldn't be reflectable, Nightwolf could still reflect. Other characters who already had it, it wasn't that great, but Nightwolf had a really, really good one, and now Jax doesn't have to worry about that because it's not a projectile, right? He's hitting the ground, and the developers realized that and said, no, you can't reflect this because it's not a projectile, and that makes sense to me. Though at the same time, some of these are already ridiculously strong, so making them even stronger seems like it didn't really need to happen, but I understand the thought process behind it. It doesn't make sense to reflect a move that's not a projectile, so I understand their reasoning, but at the same time, some of these moves are already really good, so I don't see a reason to make them even stronger, but hey, it is what it is, so Jax mains rejoice. And then to end this video, I wanted to talk about the meta for Jax's Variation 3, so as I touched on a bit earlier, you have this new mix-up. You have the overhead string, and then you have the optional way to end it, with a high attack, which is plus on block, but could also be ducked under. And then on top of that, you have this low, and I should mention you can amplify this move, which is unblockable and it also tracks the opponent. So the default version actually has to be aimed. By default, it's around here. If they're closer, you want to hold back during it. It has a far version if you hold forward. And then if they're full screen, it likely has a very far version. Yes, it does. And does decent damage too, man. Look at that. 80? And once again, keep in mind this starts off combos for free, no meter required. So even on hit, this could be great for tricking the opponent with another mix-up. You land the string but still cancel into this, start a second combo for even more damage, and get heated up. That's gonna scare players a lot because they're never safe. Even when they're being comboed, they have to look out for that mix-up. And then even if you don't want to go for the mix-up, which I imagine most of the time you won't, if you've already landed a few strings, you're now heated up, you can get that level 3 lethal clap, and that's a free combo starter as well. So I think for online especially, this is going to be the new preferred variation because it has crazy mix-ups that are going to be very tough to block on reaction. Instead, you gotta learn that fuzzy guard timing, which in a bad connection isn't going to be very easy to do. And then on top of that, you also have the lethal clap to extend combos for free, and even the ground shatter if you catch the opponent will start combos for free. So it's great for combos, great for pressure, and great for mix-ups. It has the best of everything, I feel. So even at tournaments, I do see this variation being very strong. Now it doesn't seem to have an overhead crushing blow, which the other build does have that a lot of players prefer, right? Variation 2 has this move that crushing blows, it has this that crushing blows, all the overheads, right? And I think in the Kombat cast, they acted like this last one actually did crushing blow, but it doesn't seem to. It won't actually crushing blow. I think they acted like it does, but it definitely doesn't. He no longer has any overheads that crushing blow in this variation, so it's not going to be quite as easy to get your damage, but at the same time, he still has plenty of mix-ups and meterless ways to start off combos, and one of those combo starters is a mix-up, so it's very terrifying, and this is unblockable. So he's still great at zoning too, honestly. It cost a bar, but he's still fantastic at it. And even this is still really good, doesn't cost any bar, and it's still crazy good. I can even just load my gun, and they have to deal with it. If I land this, they just gotta deal with that. They can't do nothing. That's just ridiculous. This move is all around good, so you don't really need the crazy like zoning abilities of the one build, and I don't think you need the quad grab either. The only thing you're actually missing in this build that is a bit of a loss are those overhead crushing blows. But even so, you still have meterless combo options and some crazy mix-ups as well, and some awesome pressure options. But please let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.